Good morning and Shabbat Shalom to you all. This is Bill Bullock, and I'm coming to you live this morning from the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. So Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath to you. We're here to talk about the Creator of the universe and His instructions for how to live life well on planet Earth during our mortal lifetimes. We are in week number 47 of a series that has started back in the fall of last year. Every year we do the same series. We title it a little bit differently and we view it a little bit more maturely. So this 47th, this time around the Parsha, this is week 47, episode 47 of the series. We call it Walking in the Light, the Torah of the Holy One. The instructions for living of the Holy One are light, and we are walking in that light. This is Parsha 47, or section 47 of the text, which is Parsha Re'eh, means behold, look with real eyes that see deeply what's really there. This is Parsha Behold, Re'eh. It begins with Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26, beloved, and it goes all the way through chapter 16, verse 17. That's 11:26 through 16:17. And our theme is walking in the light. Our sub-theme is a quest. We are on a quest. Our quest is to discover the secret wisdom that the Creator of the universe encoded in Torah's timeless story. So here we are again, walking in the light on a quest to make a great discovery, which is the secret wisdom for life on earth that the Holy One has encoded into Torah's timeless stories. We are approaching Torah not as some set of laws or some history of a nation. We're approaching Torah as a guidebook by a beloved mentor, a loving and beloved mentor who wants the best for his people. And so Torah is not information, it's not theology, it's not dogma, it's not religion. Torah is life, pulsing with energy from heaven. It is the wisdom of the Creator of the universe made manifest to men. It is pulsing energy that awakens the human being, and the neshama, the God-breathed spirit that is eternal, and it activates us in our mind and our will and emotion, and empowers us even in our flesh to be able to do the will of the Creator of the universe. So what do you need to hear from Parsha Re'eh? What is the energy flow, the pulse that comes, the wave that comes to you from Parsha Re'eh? Let's talk about that, if you would. There are three times actually that the Holy One has had Moshe use this Re'eh invitation to gravitas. I call it an invitation to gravitas. When he says Re'eh or behold, it's somewhat of a literary device. But it's more than a literary device. It's like the heavens, a lightning bolt shoots out, and it's like, wow, open your eyes and behold, look really carefully, and don't just see through the normal vision that you have, but have enhanced vision. So there's three times already in this book of Sefer Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, as the Western world loves to call it. There's three times already we've seen this injunctive, this invitation to gravitas, to step into the spiritual realm of vision. And it first happened in Deuteronomy 1:8, and it said, Re'eh. Moshe is actually quoting the Holy One, what the Holy One said to him at that time at Mount Sinai. He said, Re'eh, behold, lightning bolts from heaven. Now you can see in the light of heaven what's about to see. He said, Re'eh, behold, I have set the land before you, the Holy One told Moshe. Go in and possess the land which the Holy One swore to your patriarchs, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov, and to give to them and to give to their seed after them. That was the first Re'eh. Open the eyes to see there's a land. There's something more than what you're experiencing. There's something more than what you've received so far. There's something more out there. And this land, this place where you flourish and thrive, this place where you become the model, the snow globe model of how the more excellent way should be lived. This is waiting for you. The second time was when Deuteronomy 1:21, just a few verses later. This time it's Moshe saying it. Moshe says, Re'eh, behold, the invitation to gravitas comes out from him. Re'eh, the Holy One your God, he tells the nation of Israel at Kadesh Barnea. The Holy One your God has set the land before you. Again, the issue of the focus is the land. The Holy One your God has set the land before you, he told them in 1:21. Go up and possess it as the Holy One, God of your patriarchs, has spoken to you, do not be afraid and do not be discouraged. And we hear those words. If you see the lightning bolt and you hear the invitation to today, to behold today, understand, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. Don't be depressed. Don't be angry and offended. Don't be in any way disillusioned. Awaken to the vision of the Holy One. There was a third time in Deuteronomy already that we've seen this injunctive, this invitation to gravitas from Moshe. It was in Deuteronomy 3:27. Again, the Holy One is quoting, or Moshe is quoting the Holy One's actual words. And the Holy One at the plains of Moab, before this whole discourse started, the Holy One told Moshe, go up now you to the top of Pisgah, this mountain on the plains of Moab, and lift your eyes, Moshe, toward the east and the west and the north and the south. And behold with your eyes. Well, what did Moses see when he went up to Mount Pisgah? When he climbed that ascent, when he was supernaturally empowered to envision the land beyond and life beyond the time in which he lived, what did Moshe see? Well, beloved, that's what Parsha Re'eh is all about. We'll get into it. But before we do that, I want to do the thing I normally do to get you acclimated to the Sabbath, the way of thinking that goes with Sabbath, the way of looking at life that goes with Sabbath. So with this in mind, I, as always, have a few questions to help you lift your heads and adjust to the light and begin to acclimate your thinking to a seventh-day Sabbath level of spirituality. So, the first one, are you walking in the light? Beloved, this is a question for you who's listening today, wherever you are. Are you really walking in the light? Is this just an academic exercise, a religious experience? Or are you walking in the light? Is this your lifestyle? Is this your focus? Is this your perspective and your vision? The Torah, that is. Are you walking in the light? Are you envisioning and discerning and rightly interpreting what the light is trying to show you? If there was a lightning bolt that came from heaven and illumined the world around you, right now, where you stand, where you sit, where you are, what would you see? And how would you interpret it? Are you walking in the light? Second question, I'm borrowing this question from someone you know well, Mashiach himself. I'm borrowing this question from Luke chapter 6, verse 39. A parable, a question, what is it? The Holy One through Mashiach is asking, can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall in the ditch? Do you understand the parable? Do you understand the question? Do you understand the issue? He's going to talk about it in the context of the one who wants to judge other people but yet has a beam in their own eye. Can the blind lead the blind, or will they not both fall in the ditch? One of the other reasons why judging is such a difficult challenge for the people to do, for us to do. Can the blind lead the blind? So who then, what, and who are you looking at, beloved? Who are you following? What are you in the trail of? And are you in the light, or are you in the darkness? Are you in the shadows? What are you looking at, and what are you seeing? Another question. Who's dominating your foreground, the foreground of your vision? If you were going to take a picture of what you see before you in the world today, what would be the dominant features? What would you focus your camera on? And what would be just background situation? Maybe it needs to be reversed. Maybe the background needs to be in the foreground. What is in the foreground of your image that you're looking at the world through, the lens that you're looking at the world through? Third question, what and who are you letting frame your narrative? The way you say things, the way you talk about things, the way you address people, the way you talk about stuff. Who and what are you letting frame your narrative? Who and what are you letting define your worldview? Who and what are you letting identify your matrix of expectations and prioritize that matrix of expectations from the world? What and who are you allowing to activate your emotions? Who makes you emotional? Who gets your emotions fired up? And what or who triggers your defense and coping mechanisms? Do you understand? We're getting elevated, getting acclimated to Seventh-day Sabbath level of spirituality and vision. Next question. Who and what are you allowing on a day-by-day basis to monopolize your attention? Who and what are you allowing to hijack your God-given imagination and waste your God-given potential? Who are you letting do that? As another writer of the scripture wrote, who is bewitching you? Who are you allowing to bewitch you? What network? What ideology? What political party? Who are you allowing? What religion? What religious philosophy? What customs of a nation or a culture? What issues of ethnicity? What are you allowing? Who is bewitching you? Or trying to, each day with clever words or with sleight of hand? Who do you allow to influence your mood? Who do you allow to alter your Shalom Simcha index, the level at which you're at peace and at joy? Who are you allowing to set your tone of voice? Who are you allowing to define your worldview? Who are you allowing to determine your priority matrix? Who are you allowing to color your opinions, maybe even force feed them to you? Who are you allowing to dictate your attitudes? Who are you allowing to put words and slogans and cliches in your mouth as if they were your own when they're really just repeated from somebody else? Who are you allowing to suggest your behavioral choices? What and who are you allowing to inspire you? What and who are you allowing, giving permission to irritate you and provoke you and offend you or intimidate you? Who indeed? What are you looking at? What is your also, as we get closer to beginning to actually engage with Parsha A? What is your prevailing paradigm of the Creator of the universe? How do you view the nature of your relationship with Him and your obligation, if any, you feel to Him and to the world around you? There are 10 common paradigms of God-man relationship. I won't spend much time on this, but I'll give you a couple examples. The first common paradigm of God-man relationship is that God is really just an activating force or energy out there, maybe a positive good, hopefully. And we are just responding matter. We're just flesh and bone. And whenever the activating force, whatever it is, begins to act upon us, we have to respond, or we choose to respond in certain ways. That depersonalizes the Holy One totally. There's another paradigm, creator, artist, artisan. We're then the creation. We're the canvas he writes on, or the raw material he uses to create. That's the creator, artist, artisan. But we're not active participants in this program. We're merely tools, chess pieces. Then there's what I call the genie in the bottle paradigm, where we become the human finder or master. We try to manipulate the Holy One to do our will. This is what religion is really usually all about. It's the genie in the bottle paradigm. And the human beings become the human finder and master who gets the wishes and tells the genie what to do. I'm sorry, this is not a good paradigm. I'm just telling you what some of the common paradigms of the God-man relationship are. Very common in religion. Another one is what I call the shoulder angel paradigm of the Holy One. He's trying to tell you good stuff. He's a good shoulder angel, but there's also, it's our job to make the decisions. We're the human beings. We make the decisions based on what the shoulder angel tells us and maybe what some other spiritual force tells us, and we choose between the two. That's one of the paradigms. There's teacher and rabbi versus student disciple. There's king and subject. There's commander and chief. There's soldier. There's master and servant. There's landlord and tenant. And there's bridegroom or husband and bride or wife. Process holds a household manager. But then there's the last one, the one that Moshe uses and reminds us about in Parsha. He says, when you see things as they're really intended to be, you will see things through the lens of the view of the paradigm of God as Father. We are His sons, His children. He is our Father. Now, that is your paradigm. And Mashiach obviously picked up on this. This was his primary discussion of the paradigm of God-man relations, his father and child or sons, children. And so this issue, it changes everything about our vision if we understand this paradigm that we're dealing with. So, with that said and done, let us sing our Shema, and let's get started. Join me if you would. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Vayed. Hear and listen and heed and pay attention and respond, O Israel. The Holy One, He is our God, and He is the ultimate of oneness. He is a unifying unity that brings all things together. He is blessed, and blessed be Him and His glorious attributes and His kingdom forever and ever. Amen. Well, light. Vision, re'eh, seeing, walking in the light. It's all about getting close to the Holy One and walking in His ways, learning who He is and what He's trying to do for us. Light is the key to strategic movement. Without light, how can we move? We're stuck in darkness. We're trapped in fear. We're in uncertainty and lack of discernment. But with light, and are we walking in the light? That's the question. Light is the key to strategic movement. Seeing is the key to transcending what seems to be real, but is not. We are to have and hold on to a kingdom vision, beloved. Do you have a kingdom vision? A vision for more than what the news will ever tell you about, or the politicians or even the religious leaders will ever tell you about. Do you have a vision for the kingdom coming to earth? This is where Mashiach began. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is right here. We had a vision for it. Well, this having and holding on to a kingdom vision is important for us. It's part of walking in the light. It is an idea of having the plan, the perspective that what God is doing in the world is redeeming and restoring and sanctifying and building a kingdom of heaven centered society through average men and women and children like me and you, beloved. The writer of Proverbs, Shlomo, he said, where there is no vision, English says, a lot of the translations say the people perish. But what it means is when there is no vision, the people spit the bit. It's a horse training mechanism. The people spit the bit when they have no vision. They just don't go where they're supposed to go. They don't feel the leading in the direction they're supposed to go. Where there is no vision, the people spit the bit. They ignore the reins and the pull and the tug of the Holy One on their lives. They ignore the reins and they become lawless brutes. But the writer of Proverbs says, he who cherishes and treasures and guards the Torah, he who shamars the Torah, keeps going straight without deviation from the path. That's Proverbs 29:18, my translation. So I want to tell you that it's time for enhanced vision. As we get to this point in the year, we have basically a 30-day wake-up call today. Tomorrow, perhaps, if you want to look at it that way, but there's a 30-day wake-up call. It'll be 30 days until Yom Teruah, the day of the blowing of the shofar, the day of the blowing of the trumpets, the day of the commemorance of the king, the day of Yom Teruah, also known in the Hebrew world as Rosh Hashanah. Believe it or not, there is a reason for that, although it may not be what you may think. But the Yom Teruah, this day is coming. 40 days out, we have our 40-day notice to the day of Yom Kippur, the great day called Day of Atonement, the day of covering that empowers and restores and heals us. That doesn't just fix cover our sins for a few days, but it actually begins to heal us from the inside out. That's Yom Kippur. 30-day notice to Yom Teruah, 40-day notice to Yom Kippur. Oh boy, it's almost as like Jonah. Jonah has come upon the shores of Nineveh. And it says, yet 40 days, yet 40 days. This is our 40-day wake-up call as Nineveh had its. And so, in this time of enhanced vision and understanding of the significance and the gravitas of the times in which we live, it's what I call crow's nest season. where we get our lookout going. We get our crow's nest, of course, is a structure that's erected near the upper part of a ship's main mast. It's for use by sailors as a lookout point to see land or see obstacles in the water or other ships that they might encounter. Climbing up into the crow's nest, which is the symbol or the metaphor I'm using for what we're doing at Parsha. Climbing up into the crow's nest ensures the widest field of view possible to spot land masses, reefs, sandbars, icebergs, hazards of approaching vessels, etc., etc., like that. So it's time to get up in the crow's nest. Behold, look and see it with real eyes beyond the surface level of stuff you're seeing. It's time to climb the rigging, metaphorically. Lift our eyes and gaze wide-eyed into the unseen realm that lies beyond the veil of thorn and thistle experience in this world and the crippling mindset of low expectations that the nations that rage cast upon us. Behold, what are you seeing? What are you looking at? Behold, observe, discern, pay heed, take note, learn. Moshe is about to begin another discourse, the diverging pathways vision part of the next discourse on the plain. And I entitled How to Recognize and Navigate the Critical Crossroads. The critical crossroads of societal divergence. He's going to tell us a parable. He's going to, from this viewpoint in the crow's nest or up on top of Mount Pisgah, as the Holy One had, he's going to see things. He's going to see two pathways diverging before us. The pathway of the raging nations, on the one hand, we can follow the way the Canaanites, or the Amorites, or the other ites of the land, and the other raging nations, peoples of Egypt, and of all the other nations of the world have always followed the Greeks and the Romans. We can follow that. We can follow the ways of the Americans or the Africans, or we can follow the ways of the Europeans or the Asians. But here's the key: we're supposed to be following somebody else. We're supposed to be following somebody unique and different. We're supposed to be following the Holy One and walking in His light. So the two pathways. One is the pathway of what I call the bridegroom king, the pathway of light. And then there's the other pathway Moshe is giving us this vision of in Parsha and beyond, the pathway of the runaway bride, the pathway of the rebellious subjects, the pathway of the nations that rage and the peoples that imagine a vain thing. He said, as you may understand, there are two pathways, but there are two very different destinations at the end of those pathways. Now, not only are there two pathways, but two very different destinations. There are crossroads that both roads meet. And those crossroads, there can be a change, a turn back toward either way. You can go away from the path of the king to the path of the raging nations, or you can go away from the path of the raging nations, path of the king, and it will be on the basis of 10 critical crossroads. The question, it's a parable now of 10 crossroads, 10 crucibles along the way. How will you handle these 10 crucibles? Which way will you turn at the 10 crossroads? Which it will determine how your destination winds up, which pathway you wind up at your destination of. What are the 10 pathways? The first one is just generally the ways of the raging nations, the pagans, versus the way of the Holy One. That's the general idea. Which one do you want? Which way are you going? Which way do you want? Do you want to look at life and walk through life and have an impact upon the world the way the Holy One designed you to? Or would you rather listen to what the nations tell you about what they want you to do, what your life should be all about? The second way is very important crossroads, very important crucible. How will you pretend or try to worship, honor whoever your God is, whether it be your Father God, the Holy One of Israel, or whether it be some other form of a deity or a supreme sovereign that you look at, some prioritization that you desire. What will be your worship practices and modalities? And Moshe is going to show us the picture of the roads diverging. He says there will be the people of the Holy One will focus on the city of Jerusalem, the place, the Hamakom, the place the Holy One will choose to place His name. And this will be the focus of all their activities. They will turn, even if they have their home, they will face it towards the east, towards Jerusalem, wherever they are. Because this is a city that He will call. It'll be like Abraham. Our father Abraham was looking for a city with foundations, whose builder and maker is God. And so we have this picture of centralized focus and focus upon the place of the hill of Moriah and the city of Jerusalem becoming our focus. Versus the other way, the other pathway. The pathway of the Raging Nations is to build little local worship centers under every spreading green tree and on every high hill. In today's world, it would be at every highway intersection and every access road to the freeway. You would see these buildings pop up, these local worship centers pop up, and they'd be independent of the greater scheme of Jerusalem. And you'd also see what practices are followed by the religious form. Even if you try to worship the Holy One, if you do it according to the same ways the pagans do it, if you have these ritualized services and sacramental approaches to life, then you're going to find out that you're going to wind up at the wrong destination, because you're not going to be walking in the light. The walk in the light means to walk in the Shema heart approach, the Shema lifestyle, and to teach your children and your household after you to follow the ways of the Holy One, to walk in His ways. And do it in the homes and do it in your local places, but without some sort of ritualized shrine there or sacraments done there in local facilities. The third area will be in how you deal with the animal species, and particularly with regard to those you harvest for food. There will be two different pathways. One will be the pathway of deifying the animal in some ways, making the animal sacred. You'll see this in some of the Eastern religions, where the animal is maybe sacrificed, but they're done so because they're sacred. Then there's the other approach that animals are subject to human beings. We do whatever we want to with them, and that's sort of the Zabiha Islamic approach to the animals. They kill, but they aren't really careful about the sharpness of the knife or the details of that. All they want to do is say a certain prayer whenever they do the slaughter, and make it a religious act of killing this animal. And then there's the other way. There's another way to do it. Of Shakita, the way of the sharpest of the knives and the least of the pain, and the humblest of the approaches to the death of an animal. How will you treat animals? That's a crossroads. It's a crucible. How will you deal with and value occult knowledge, or devalue, as the case may be? Occult knowledge means knowledge that comes from information, wisdom that comes from any source besides the Creator of the universe and His Torah. How will you value worldly knowledge, or supernatural information knowledge, or anything from witchcraft to horoscopes to whatever? Where are you, to tarot cards? What are you looking for? Where are you getting your knowledge? This is an important factor. Which one pathway leads you in the way of the Raging Nations and leads you to damage and destruction? It's the broad way that leads to destruction. Another way is the narrow way that says, no, there's only the words of the Holy One, and only who He is and what He calls us to do. That defines how we act and what we think we know. The fifth crossroads is respect for the sanctity of life and death. What do we do when something around us dies? How do we behave? Or is born, for that matter, or becomes an adult at the levels of life. The sixth crucible or crossroads is what we will use for food and fuel. Will we follow the narrow path of what the Holy One has told us is food for us and fuel for our bodies and our families, or will we instead follow the teachings of the Raging Nations and the intellect that they say, this can't be anything real, doesn't make any sense, we don't believe in that stuff the Holy One, that God has said? No, that's what which way will we treat it? Will we go to the pathway of all things are clean, and Tameh and Tahor, I should say, and they're all wonderful and good, poison snakes, it doesn't make any difference. Or will we take and say, no, the Holy One knows what human beings were created to eat and ingest for their maximal potential and for their spiritual health. The next time is how we deal with, the next crucible is how we deal with harvest times. It's times of plenty. It's a metaphor. Harvest times are a metaphor for times whenever we have all we want and all we need. How will we react? This is one of the crucibles. Pathway of the king is to really be humble and be grateful and rejoice and share with others. The pathway of the nations is eat, drink, and be merry. Take everything you can and grab it. This is your chance to really indulge yourself and go into debauchery. You earned this. You need to take it. Grab all the gusto you can, so to speak. That's how do you deal with harvest times or times of plenty. The 8th of the 10 crucibles is how you will handle engaging, incurring, or dealing with debts and service obligations or commitments that you make. Will you commit your future and your betrothed to the Holy One and His plan, or will you sell out for a new car, a new house, whatever it may be that you, a boat, a motorhome, an RV, whatever it is that you think you, a farm, what will you buy? What will you buy? Because and you borrow money against it and take a lien against it and become a servant of the creditor because of it. What will you do with debts? How will you approach the world of possible debt and service obligations and commitments? The 9th of the crucibles will be, what is your attitude toward the poor and the foreigner and the stranger and the widow and the fatherless and the disabled among you? What is your approach and attitude toward them? Do you think government or charities should take care of that, or do you take personal engagement? Do you take personal responsibility for those things and the people around you who are doing through that? And then the 10th of the various different crossroads, the crucibles that Moshe will talk about in Parsha Re'eh, is the times and seasons of remembrance and celebration. Times and seasons of remembrance and celebration. The nations, the raging nations, have their own. They've historically gone according to the solstices and the equinoxes, and each month, each moon has its own little set of festivals that is usually a festival of debauchery, or of supernatural spirituality, pagan spirituality, occult. That's where we get things like Halloween, and these are the pagan things. They have their approaches to it's called the wheel of the year, based upon solstices and equinoxes and the like. But there is another way. There is a different pathway. The pathway of the king is a narrow pathway, the pathway of remembering and celebrating the special days the Holy One has told us to remember and celebrate, called the Moedim, or many English Bibles call them festivals or feasts of the Holy One. So these are the 10 crucibles, the 10 crossroad areas Moshe will talk about. Before we get too deep into any of that, let us sing our call to worship, our Baruch, the blessing, before actually reading the words written in the Torah. This is the Baruch. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorak. Baruch Adonai Hamvorak Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. So be it. And now would you open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah, for you have made us just strangers in this earth. So please do not hide your instructions for life well lived on earth. And now, gather around, children of the Most High, the storytellers, ready to get started again. Moshe on the mountain of the plains of Moab. It's story time again. Moshe, our official storyteller, is 120 years old, and he has found out recently he only has 36 days left to live. 36 days to prepare us for the season to come, for 36 days to give us his vision of the two diverging pathways and which way we should follow. Moshe is committed to spend every waking moment of this 36-day preparation period painting for us and our children and our children's children his stunning magnum opus masterpiece, a work of art, a work of literature that presents the outworkings and the ups and downs of our whole entire species' past and present and possible future, all through the lens of divine romance, interaction, relationship, conversation, transformation, transactions with God. Moshe, in his last 36 days, is laying out for us detail after detail, blueprint page after blueprint page of glorious destiny and atmosphere-fearing plans for the Holy One has for us and for planet Earth through us. He's in his second discourse on the plain now, Moshe is, and he's reaching the midpoint of that discourse, and he's ready to lay out for us his vision for society, the society that we're supposed to construct in the Promised Land, the one we're supposed to model and export to the nations as the pattern, the blue snow globe pattern of excellence. He's going to place that vision for society that the Holy One has given him on Mount Pisgah in stark contrast to other things, the kinds of societies found in the raging nations, filled with Ra, evil, Shakat, corruption, Hamas, violence and cruelty. Those things fuel the ethnicities of the world, all of them. They fuel the ideologies of the nations. They fuel the religious forms and institutions. They fuel the educational institutions and entertainment institutions and scientific institutions and medical institutions. They fill it all. That's the contrast. We're supposed to counterbalance that. They are passing these things down to their children and to their minions, but we are to respond to another call, the call of the Holy One himself. Our mission is to build on earth a model of the kingdom, a heaven-scented society centered on a hill, a city set on a hill we know as Jerusalem. There's an end-game plan the Holy One has in mind for us. Moshe wants us to know the end-game plan is that Mashiach ben David, the Messiah, son of David, will reign over the earth, and Jerusalem will be his capital city from which he sends forth his decrees and his servants to tend and speak to the world. And people from all over the world, people of every ethnicity, will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Holy One, to the house of the God of Yaakov, of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths." That's the grand vision. That's the end-game plan. How do we get there? What are the pathways that will lead us there or lead us away? And what are the crossroads that we'll have to cross along the way? This is a time to focus on what lies ahead, even in our year where we're coming to the conclusion of the Torah year, the conclusion as we get closer and closer to the conclusion of our quest to discover the secret wisdom encoded in Torah's timeless stories one more time. We need to focus on what lies ahead of us, defining what our and our children's futures are going to look like, can look like, should look like, and to determine what kind and quality of footprint we and our children and our children's children will leave on the ecosystem. There are two possible opportunities, two pathways. One is if and as and when we walk in the light of heaven and the ways of Kedusha, holiness, energy from heaven. Kaya, life abundant and full of thriving and flourishing. Kavod, the weight of the words of the Holy One, in the presence of the Holy One. Chesed, faithfulness to covenant. And kindness in regard to that. Chokmah, wisdom, practical application, skills of putting truth and wisdom to work. And Kippur, this idea of we can rest in his covering, the covering of who he is, and heal and be brought to tikkun nefesh, the healing of the individual heart and soul. And then to spread that out to tikkun olam, the healing of the world. That's one pathway of life, the walking in the light pathway. The other pathway of life that we could follow that will determine what our destiny is and what our children will live like, what it will be like as if we follow the perverse ways and dally in the dark energy of the raging nations. where they focus on Ra, evil, Shakat, corruption, Hamas, violence and cruelty, Tumah, uncleanness, those things which fragment and conflict, bring conflict into the heart and mind and soul, Holeh, that which is diseasing and in any way destructive, and Toibah, that which is an abomination to the Holy One and inconsistent with the kingdom. These are the things, the perverse ways of the dark energy of the nations follow. We can follow that. And if we do, there will be a curse. We will become a curse to the world. So we ask ourselves, what did the Holy One show Moshe? He's been talking because he saw something on that Mount Pisgah when he looked out to the east and the west and the north and the south. He saw more than we can see with our eyes when we get at those heights of the plains of Moab. What did he see? What does he want us to see? What do we need to see if we're going to move forward in the kingdom's plan? Well, as I said, it's pathways. Pathways that diverge. Pathways that diverge lead to travelers on those pathways to different landmarks and different destinations. That's what we will learn about. Moshe is going to give us what I call the come up here and see what I see discourse or set of teachings. And basically it's going to be to show, he said, show me how a society, a people imagines and relates to and behaves towards its gods. And I'll show you where it winds up. Show me how a nation responds to the Torah and its teaching of the more excellent way. And I'll show you how that nation winds up. Show me how a nation stewards creation resources. And I'll show you how that nation winds up. Show me how a nation or a people or a family prioritizes spending and spends its money and its energies and its resources, and I'll show you how that nation or people or family or individual will wind up. Show me how a culture marks in the passage of time and season and deals with issues of prosperity whenever the money's there, the food is there, the supply is there. Show me how they respond to that. And I'll tell you which pathway they're on and where they're going. Show me these things and I'll show you the society's future. And I'll show you what kind of contribution or impact it's going to have upon the world for good or for evil. Whether it will be a shining city of hope set on a hill, or whether it will be just another nation that rages for a while, full of people thinking themselves intelligent, wise, and moral. Thinking themselves so these things, speaking about high things, promoting their own pathways of ideology and ethnicity and religion and philosophy, debating things that do not matter and doing vain things. Show me which way people turn at these 10 crucibles, 10 crossroads. This is his come up here and see what I see discourse. Let's start with the last lines of Parsha Ekev. We get acquainted to our Parsha this week. The closing lines of last week's Parsha, Deuteronomy 11, 23 through 25. Moshe says, if, as, and when you shamar, you treasure, you cherish, and carefully guard vigilantly all these instructions for living that I enjoin and challenge you with, and you build them into a real life thing like a blueprint, like a builder builds from a blueprint, and you love the Holy One your God as you're doing it, and you walk in all of his ways, and you hold fast to him. And if, as, and when you do these things, then here's what will happen. The pathway will lead you this way. The Holy One will drive out all the nations from before you, and you will dispossess greater and mightier peoples than yourselves. And every place that the sole of your foot treads will be yours, from the wilderness in Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea. These will be your dominions, your borders. And no man will be able to stand against you. The Holy One, your God, will put the dread of you and the fear of you upon all the land where you tread, as he has said to you. Wow, that was a promise of last week's. But he said this is not automatic. There is a condition. This result that you want, this pathway that you know is designed for you from heaven, is not automatic. It is conditional. There's a 5-element if, as, when prelude to that promise. What was that 5-fold covenant commitment, that 5-fold prelude? If, as, when, what? You vigilantly treasure, cherish, and carefully guard all these instructions for living that Moshe gives to us and joins us with. And we build them, asad them, we build them like a builder builds from a blueprint. And we love the Holy One, our God. We pursue Him passionately. And we begin to get davuk with Him, to become one with Him, to bond and cling to Him and follow Him and become His shadow. You love the Holy One, your God, and you walk in His ways, the paths He has blazed for us, the pathway He has illumined for us with His light of Torah, and we hold fast, we cling, we cleave to Him. These are the 5 covenant commitment preludes to the great blessing. How are you doing on your 5-fold covenant commitment? And he says, now if all that takes place, this is where the parsha begins. Behold, lightning bolt, flashing light. You now can see further than you've ever seen before. This is enhanced vision time. Behold. What does he say? Anoki noten lefnechem hayom berachah. Behold, I appoint, set before you today, a blessing, uchalala, and a curse. What I'm giving to you will be to you either a blessing or a curse, and be to the world either a blessing and a curse, depending on how you respond to it. In other words, that is the story. Et habarcha, the blessing, asher tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem. The blessing flows when you shema, the mitzvot, the instructions for living, or a well-lived life that the Holy One gives. Asher anochi mitzvah etchem hayom, with which the Holy Moshe is enjoining us this day. The hakalala, but the curse, im lo asher tishmei, if you do not shema, if you do not listen, if you do not pay heed, if you do not resonate with the teachings that the Holy One's given, you don't stay in tune with them, the mitzvot Adonai, the instructions, the collaboration instructions of the Holy One, your God, visartem min hadarik, and you turn aside, you go a different direction, you take the other pathway, you take the diverging pathway, you turn aside, you stray, and you wander away from the path, the narrow path. Asher anoki mitzvave etchem hayom, which I enjoin and challenge you this day. Lelachet achari Elohim acharim asher lo yidatem, to follow sovereigns and important figures that you do not know or do not operate in your base of knowledge. Thus begins the come up and see what I see. Come up here and see what I see discourse of Moshe. A bookend at the end of this discourse will say, I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you. Same voice. The storyteller will tell us later in chapter 30, verses 19 to 20. I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life. It's about choices now. You have the pathways laid out before you. You know which one leads where and what the landmarks of each are. Do you know? Because you've had the vision shown to you. Do you understand the consequences of making the choices you make? Therefore, choose life, that both you and your seed may live. Well, the general premise or theme of this discourse of Moshe on the plains, this come up here and see what I see discourse, is that the spectrum of our vision needs a substantial upgrade as we go into the next season, as we prepare for Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur and beyond. The spectrum of our vision, what we've been looking at, what we tend to be defaulting to look at and focus on and see and form opinions and judgments about and react to emotionally, that needs a substantial upgrade. We need to have enlightenment. We need to have empowerment, enhancement from heaven. So what does Moshe see that we do not? This is the key to our parsha and to our next few weeks of study. What is Moshe seeing from the top of Mount Pisgah that we're not seeing, that we need to see? Well, he sees, beloved. He sees the blueprint for a kingdom of heaven centered society. It's built around a city of light set on a hill. He sees that in contrast to something else, to everything else that we always look at, which is the Babel-like and Babylonian towers, cities built by godless and loveless and lawless ethnicities and people groups, raging nations. People's obsessed with self-will, with occult knowledge, with fleshly desires, with substances and hormones that make them feel ways they want to feel for temporary, momentary situations. People proud, full of arrogance, of pseudo-intellect, thinking they're so intelligent and so moral and so higher than other people. People like that, building Babel-like towers and Babylonian cities. People steeped in paganism and darkness. Well, we're supposed to be developing eyes that see to go with the ears that hear. We've already been talking about ears that shema. He that has an ear, let him shema, has been the theme of Moshe up to this point in Deuteronomy. But now he's going to start focusing on seeing, and because we see, being able to do the right thing. We're being trained to behold, to re'eh, to see with kingdom perspective, to observe reality as it really is, not just what seems to be going on the outside, to perceive the truth, to understand what God is doing, what he wants us to be doing to join and partner with him, what his planning is, what his end game is, and how we can aid and assist in that end game. Re'eh does not mean to use the fleshly ideas of sight, the fleshly organs of sight, and just open our eyes and see what's around us. Re'eh means to access the eternal neshama, God-breathed eternal spirit within us, to open the neshama's eyes, and to see what is in play from the Holy One's perspective. Re'eh is a discipline that can only be learned from walking with the Holy One in his Torah. It's a lens adjustment protocol for discipline that we use to look at people and things and places and situations through the lens of spiritual eyes that see. Look at the world like a chess master looks at a chessboard. What are we trying to accomplish here? What are the most likely ways, strategies of accomplishing that objective? What mindset and patience do we need to exhibit in order to do what needs to be done? To re'eh is to see whatever the subject matter under examination is through heaven's eyes, through eyes awakened to the beauty realm and the plan, to eyes focused on redemption, to eyes that envision the end game. Welcome to the choice crucible. We have choices to make along the way. If we're going to see what the alternatives are, what the choices are that lay before us, we need to be ready to make good choices. We are ambassadors of the King. We are emissaries of the kingdom of heaven. We reflect him. And so our attitudes, our demeanor, our worldviews, our grooming, even how we present ourselves to the world, our fashion choices, our appearance presentations, the tone of voice we use, the vocabulary we choose, the body language we employ, the behaviors we engage in, the reactions that we have to irritations and aggravations and provocations and insults and offenses. All these now have serious consequences because we're ambassadors of the kingdom. We're emissaries of the King. We must reflect what he feels and what he wants, not what we feel and what we want in the situation. Not our sense of justice or righteousness or morality. We must reflect his will for redemption, restoration. We can introduce so much wisdom to the world. We can do so much good, accomplish so many wonderful things. Or we can perpetuate folly and cause much harm. The choice is ours. It's the choice crucible of the pathway, the diverging pathways vision. If we make good choices, that will mean we can live good and positively impactful lives that bless the world. We become a blessing. But of course, the opposite is also true. If we make bad choices along the way, at the crossroads, at the crucibles, if we make bad choices, we will have negative impact. We will become a curse to ourselves, our families, and to the world. And so, the Holy One, through Moshe, his spokesman, now wants to teach us how to make good choices at the critical crossroads. He wants us to have neshama eyes, awakened to see things the rest of the world cannot or chooses not to. He doesn't want us to stumble around in the bridal chamber that he's prepared for us. So he's given us not just ears to shema his voice, but also eyes to see what he's doing and make wise choices based upon that. All right. The central theme of this parsha as we get ready to conclude our teaching for the day and let you go to your individual classes or your individual homes and do your own private studies of this parsha and learn the secret wisdoms encoded in these stories. The central theme of this parsha is, can you see Jerusalem arising? Where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Holy One, the testimony of Israel, where the tribes go up to give thanks, to receive briefings and marching orders from the very King of the Creator and the King and Creator of the universe, the Holy One. Blessed is He. Jerusalem is arising. The city of the great King is indeed what we're longing for. We're longing to serve and resonate with the messages of that. First aliyah, the first session of this particular parsha, Deuteronomy 11, 26 through 12, 10. This is where Moshe introduces the two pathways parable that come up here and see what I see vision. He reveals that he's setting before us a potential to function as either a blessing, a bracha, or a kalala, a curse. It's up to us. If and as and when and we in our generations Shema, the Holy One's instructions for living, and His words then become the source of, and we become the vessel of a barakah. But if we decide not to do that, and we wander and stray off into the ways of the raging nations, we lo Shema, the mitzvot, and we turn away from the Holy One, and we serve other gods. If we do that, then these same words will become a source of, and our lives will become a vessel of kalala, which is a curse. The blessing, he says, if, as, and when you Shema the mitzvot of the Holy One your God, with which I charge you this day. There are many disciplines here. Moshe directs that we even put a parable of this, a metaphor of this, when we walk into the land the first time. We go up to the Mount Gerizim and we bless the world. And if we give the world the choice, the blessing or the curse, and so we then go to Ebal and we put the curses up there. Which one will it be? Will we be people of Mount Gerizim, or will we be people of Mount Ebal? And Moshe also directs Bnei Israel to abad, to cause to perish all the sites and structures and places through which the Canaanite and the Amorite had conjured up or venerated their gods. We're not to do that sort of thing. Try to conjure up God, make Him appear on command or on cue like a genie out of a bottle. We're not supposed to be trying to command or direct the Holy One. We're supposed to be guiding ourselves into His vision and being drawn toward the holy city of Jerusalem, the place He will choose to place His name. The third application discipline of this first part of the parsha is that Moshe is going to forbid the worship of the Creator in local areas. The offering of sacrifices in local communities and stuff like that. Altars built there, that is not permissible. Instead, we're supposed to focus on being the people of the Holy One and going up to the city of the great King, the place that He will choose to place His name. We will not to be worshiping the Creator of the universe, even on high hills and under green trees and under overpasses by the interstate, the way the Canaanite worship their gods, because the Holy One is the only one that's to be worshipped, and only is to be worshipped at one site, and that site is the place He will choose, the mountain of Jerusalem. That is where we are to make our korban, our approach, our drawing near to Him, and that is where we are to rejoice in His blessings. That is the secret place. The second portion of the parsha is Deuteronomy 12, 11 through 28. This is about killing animals and eating meat. The way in which this critical crossroads of how will we treat animals when we want to harvest them for food or need to harvest them for food so we don't starve or so that our families are fed. How will we treat those animals? Moshe says, don't treat every killing of an animal like some sort of a sacrifice to God, like some of the pagan nations do. Most of the pagan nations do. Moshe prohibits making korban in any place other than at Hamakom, the place the Holy One will choose, Jerusalem. However, animals can be slaughtered for food, not for sacraments, for food, and flesh can be consumed in any settlement as long as one thing is done. The blood of the animal is poured out on the ground. So it marks the fact that this death had to occur for others to live. There's discussions of tithes, of firstborns, of offerings for the vows, free will offerings, contributions made, assisting and taking care of the Levites, All these things are discussed, and they all relate to where we go at Hamakom, the place the Holy One will choose to place His name, not local worship sites. Okay, so that's sort of our second aliyah. The third portion of the scripture of this portion is found in Deuteronomy 12:29 through 13:10. This is where He prohibits all occult practices. He wants us to get all of our wisdom, all of our knowledge from Him. The Holy One does. Moshe is insisting this is very important. You cannot try to get mixed messages, mixed information sources. You can't go to the witches. You can't go to the tarot card readers. And you can't go to the horoscope authors. And you can't go to the witches and the warlocks. You can't go to the secret occult wisdom of the cabals. You can't do that. If you do, the result will be the kalal, the curse. Moshe warns against copying any of the ways of the Canaanites, especially the ways in which they approach and venerate their gods, but they had performed abominable acts in the name of their gods. Human sacrifice and animal sacrifices of blood, just bloodthirsty bloodshed, acts that the Holy One detests, like offering up sons and daughters even in the fire. Moshe warned the B'nai Israel, the people of Israel, the sons and daughters of the covenant, never to do those things. Never add to what the Holy One has given and never take away from it. Do only what He says to do. He says, if a prophet or a dreamer arises, even, someone who seems to have real spiritual connections to it, if a prophet or a dreamer appears and offers a sign and it comes true and he urges you to worship another god, follow another sovereign, or seek something else to be important, you are not to heed that prophet or dreamer, but he is to be left to die. And even if your own kinsman comes to you and tries to tell you to worship other gods and not the Holy One, no pity is to be shown. The offender is to be the object of a stoning ceremony. Fourth aliyah, Deuteronomy 14:1 through 21. Moshe is warning us about these crises areas, these crucibles we're going to face, these crossroads that we're going to face, and that's where we're going to get to the personal appearance dictates and customs of the nations, corrupting practices of the flesh. He's going to say, do not pierce yourself, do not cut holes in yourself, don't poke holes in yourself, don't have those done to you, no piercings, no shaving the front of your head, don't shave, and don't eat the flesh of any creature that's unclean or abominable, and if you find an animal that's and you find it dead, it has not been slaughtered with the gentleness and the kindness, do not eat it. And do not boil a kid in his mother's milk. Oh, the sanctity of life is what we're talking about here. The Holy One's giving us parables that are real, that have real meaning, but that also are metaphoric and parabolic to understand the value of life the Holy One's way, and how we present ourselves and what we ingest and take into our bodies. Then Deuteronomy 14:23 2 through 29 is the fifth of the segments of this parsha. And it talks about how we make remembrances in Thanksgiving. We're to set aside a tenth of each harvest as a ma'aseh, as a tithe. And we're to consume the tithes of the grain and the wine and the oil in this particular place. And the firstlings of our flocks and herds are also to be taken to this place, to Hamakom, the place the Holy One will choose. And if that place is a long way from where we're living, and it's too distant and great to take all those things in kind, we can convert them to money, sell them for money, and take the proceeds to Hamakom and spend it to rejoice and celebrate any way we need to or see fit. As we do this, we must never neglect the Levite who lives in and serves our community. We want to think of others as we do this, not just indulge and debauch ourselves. The sixth section of this parsha is Deuteronomy 15:1 through 18. How are we going to treat debt? How are we going to treat and approach debt and commitment that goes beyond the commitment to the will of the Holy One? Moshe instructs us that every seventh year in the land we're to remit debts. Just forgive them. Just wipe them clean. Debts from fellow Hebrews, that is. There should be no needy among us. If we do this, there will be no needy among us. They will not be poor if only we keep the Holy One's instructions. For God will bless us and bless each of us. And if a kinsman becomes destitute because we are not to harden our hearts against them, but we are to lend him what he needs. And even the year of remission, though it's approaching, we should lend, trusting that the Holy One will bless them. It's not about us being stewards necessarily for our own benefit. It's for doing His will and His work. The third thing he tells us in this section of the Parsha is that if a fellow Hebrew goes into servitude, if something fails, and a fellow Hebrew goes into servitude, he is to serve only 6 years. In the 7th year, he's not only to be set free, he is to be given gifts to help him establish himself in his new life back where he returns to his original calling and assigned allotment in the land. And the final thing of this section of the Parsha is that should the servant not want to leave, should there be such a relationship of trust and love between the master and the servant, the master is to take an awl and put it through the servant's ear into the door and make him as he wished to be, a servant for all perpetuity. The final concluding section of this Parsha is Deuteronomy 15:19 through 16:17. How do we handle celebrations and marking of observances of life? Moshe tells us, he says, the way of the king is to consecrate all male firstlings to our herds and flocks and eat them with our families at the place prepared for us. And remember to observe the Passover. Our festival is not to be about festivals of equinox and solstice and the wheel of life. Our festivals, our observances are supposed to be of historical and future events that build upon this plan of the kingdom. So observe Passover and Shavuot, Pentecost, and Sukkot, tabernacles, each year at Hamakom, the place he will choose to set before you. And bring a gift, and according to the measure of the blessing the Holy One has given to us, bring that gift as we come. This is our divine counterbalance strategy. We are to be people of the more excellent way. We must follow the narrow road that leads to life. The other nations will be choosing the broad path that leads to destruction. Well, Shabbat Shalom to you. I'll see you next week, the Holy One willing. Amen.